On Memorial Day 2024, law enforcement in Naples, Florida, was called to a local pier after a young couple was spotted being intimate in public. 20-year-old Alicia Razzo and Zadok Westfield, aged 23, went behind a locked gate that had a clear no trespassing sign and began having intercourse. Naples police officer Matthew Blomquist arrived at the scene to find them in a compromising position and looking disheveled, with Westfield reported as being completely nude. Razzo acted against the officer's orders to remain at the scene and attempted a daring escape by jumping from the pier into the Gulf of Mexico. She started swimming northeast towards the shore but was intercepted by a beach patrol when she emerged from the water. Westfield didn't flee and surrendered to Blomquist. The man revealed that he and Razzo had swum to the end of the sightseeing pier and climbed to the top with the intention of jumping off before ultimately deciding to have intercourse instead. Razzo and Westfield were both charged with trespassing and breach of peace, while the former was also charged with resisting an officer without violence. Their court dates were scheduled for June the 19th of 2024. Number 7. Margaret Ann Clem and David Bobilaya, the resident of a retirement community in Sumter County, Florida, was taken into custody alongside her younger lover on June the 2nd of 2014 for having drunken intercourse in public. The police were called to the village's retirement community, which called itself Florida's friendliest retirement hometown. In one of the complex's squares, they found 68-year-old Margaret Ann Clem and David Bobilaya, aged 49, as they were actively having relations. The latter's pants and underwear had dropped to his ankles, while Clem had her shirt pulled down and wasn't wearing any pants. The couple seemed to be intoxicated but followed officers' commands to clothe themselves. They were taken into custody on charges of indecent exposure and public intoxication, but were later released on $1,500 bail. Clem, whose makeup dripped from her red eyes in her booking photo, had settled another intoxication-related case just 4 days prior to the public square romp. It was a DUI charge to which she'd previously pleaded guilty, stemming from an incident in which she drunk drove a golf cart. Number 6. Valeria. In the fall of 2023, a Russian woman went on a drunken rampage while on a 5-hour Pobeda Airlines flight from Antalya, Turkey to Moscow. As reported by news outlet Gazeta.ru, the blonde woman, only identified as 29-year-old Valeria, was already intoxicated when she boarded the aircraft. At some point during the flight, she orally abused the man sitting next to her, who was a complete stranger to her. Valeria was reported to have pulled down his pants and committed what were characterized as violent acts of an intimate nature as outraged passengers watched on. The man reportedly tried to fight her off at first, but eventually stopped resisting and let her have his way with him. Gazeta noted, surprisingly, the flight attendants waited until the end of the action and only then moved Valeria further away. The woman fought back against staff and ended up scratching them, as she reportedly didn't want to leave the man. Another male passenger was deputed to guard her for the rest of the flight. Other highlights of Valeria's deranged behavior throughout the flight included her smoking an e-cigarette, in spite of being repeatedly told to stop, and ordering hot water just to pour it on the floor. When the Boeing 737-800 landed at Vnukovo Airport, Valeria pulled out a $100 bill and tried to bribe a flight attendant to not report her behavior. The flight attendant threw the bill in the trash, and Valeria was shown on cell phone video recovering it after emptying the contents of the bin on the aircraft's floor. Crew and passengers applauded and cheered when the police came on board and detained Valeria. The young woman later told Baza Media that she'd only received a small fine for her antics and that she had no regrets. Valeria said, "Everything was fine. I had a good time on the plane." Well, that's a little more than that. Number 5. Amber Gormley and Sean McClelland, motorists traveling in the area of Whitney Road and US Highway 19 north in Largo, Florida, became witnesses to what were characterized as lascivious acts on November the 14th of 2020. Numerous drivers observed Amber Gormley and Sean McClelland, aged 39 and 30 respectively, as they had relations on the side of the road in an open area and in broad daylight. McClelland was seen perform on Gormley, to which he later admitted to the authorities. During their interactions with the police, the couple were apparently ignorant to the criminal nature of their behavior, as both assured officers that their lovemaking was consensual. They were each charged with lewd and lascivious exhibition and booked into the Pinellas County Jail on a $10,000 bond. McClellan was additionally charged with possession of synthetic marijuana. While the incident had represented their most mediatized run-in with the law, it wasn't a one-off for either of them. Gormley's rap sheet extended as far back as 1999 and included resisting arrest, possession of methamphetamine, multiple counts of shoplifting, and aggravated battery. McClellan had an arguably tamer record, as it featured a 2014 traffic violation and misdemeanor theft charges from 2018 when he was arrested for stealing peppermint tea and cat litter from a Walmart. Number 4. Luke McCulloch. The former captain of an English youth soccer team was arrested in the fall of 2012 for being overly amorous with a woman while they were in Concert Square, a popular bar and restaurant district of Liverpool. 18-year-old Luke McCulloch, who'd captained Manchester United's academy team, and the 19-year-old female were initially spotted kissing in a doorway. While they were both in a state of partial undress, they were reported to local law enforcement and a car was sent to the scene. A Merseyside police source noted that the young couple were all over each other and they just couldn't help themselves. Officers spoke to them and the lovers agreed to move on, but allegedly didn't get very far before they were at it again. The incident occurred in full view of the public and was captured on CCTV. The soccer defender and his paramour were consequently arrested and cautioned for lewd behavior. McCulloch was held in a cell for several hours before he was released. Commenting on the incident for a media outlet, the police source said, "Why they didn't just get a room is beyond us." Number 3. Jonathan Price and Shannon McClung. 41-year-old Jonathan Price and 38-year-old Shannon McClung were arrested in Danbury, Connecticut after they were witnessed having relations in a band shell on a park stage. On a March afternoon in 2012, Price and McClung, both of whom were staying in homeless shelters at the time, went at it seemingly oblivious to the fact that they'd drawn an audience. Local police went to the scene after receiving numerous complaints and caught the couple in the act on the stage, which was located near the town's ice skating rink. A group of women were reportedly still watching Price and McClung mid-tryst when the cops reached the scene. The couple was subsequently taken into custody for breach of peace and public indecency. Today's topic was requested by Alfred Free 3 and Robert Lee 4172. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Tracy Ann Myers and David Nash. On the evening of August the 29th of 2018, Welsh couple Tracy Ann Myers and David Nash got it on while at an access point of the Central Arcade in Wrexham. The couple's acts, which reportedly included, took place only a few feet from a road and passing members of the public. People protested their display and were reportedly shouting at them, but the couple didn't stop, opting instead to try and hide what they were doing by putting cardboard up. They were recorded on CCTV, and a businesswoman at the arcade sent the footage to local police. Myers and Nash were arrested. During her interviews with the authorities, the former initially claimed that they were only rubbing each other, but once confronted with the footage, admitted they'd had relations. Nash would ultimately receive a suspended sentence, while Myers' punishment was more severe due to her subsequent antics. On September the 8th, she was subjected to a strip search at Wrexham Police Station. As the search unfolded, she reportedly threw a sanitary towel at officers but missed before she removed a tampon and launched it at a female officer, hitting her in the arm. On September the 16th, Myers defecated in her cell, which led to a cleaning specialist being called in to take care of the mess. A few days later, while she was outside Wrexham Magistrates Court, Myers spat in the face of a press photographer. The woman would admit to all of her offending, from the public romp to the subsequent outbursts, which were deemed horrific in court. She largely explained her behavior as a product of homelessness, drug addiction, and mental health issues. Myers pleaded guilty to multiple charges that included outraging public decency, assaulting a police officer in the execution of her duty, criminal damage to a cell, and assaulting the photographer. In late September, she was jailed for 24 weeks. Number 1. Dovey Nichols. In January of 2019, police in Austin, Texas, responded to reports of a woman who was publicly engaged in acts of self-gratification. When officers arrived downtown in the area of a JW Marriott, they found 26-year-old Dovey Nichols sitting alone on a patio across the street from the hotel at the second bar and kitchen. As police approached her, Nichols moved her hands away from the area of her crotch and brought them up from under the table. Upon getting closer, officers noticed that the woman was not wearing any pants. After she was handcuffed and taken to the back of a police vehicle, Nichols resumed pleasuring herself. She was charged with indecent exposure, and it emerged that her lewd activity at the bar was actually the second incident of exhibitionist behavior to have occurred on the day. The original complaint had been made by JW Marriott staff. Upon talking to an employee, the police learned that Nichols had been spotted at the hotel's street-level patio. The worker reported that he'd seen her holding a silver object to her private area while she was with her legs straight up in the air, spread open. Nichols was reportedly making moaning noises, and when the employee approached her, she reportedly screamed at him to get back. The woman continued to self-gratify on the hotel patio for about 7 to 9 minutes. She then moved across the street to the second bar patio and did more of the same, up to the arrival of law enforcement and even after she was taken into custody. Thanks for watching. Would you rather get it on in front of a live studio audience or while hearing a commentator's voice in your head? Let us know in the comments section below.